So, not to, before we get too far off here, like, when because we gotta rank back in for the first fire stuff and everything, what was your first, like, I don't wanna say your first real fire, but the first fire where you were just like, man, what did I exactly, I mean, this is awesome, but what did I get myself into here?
Right after the storm, I ended up going in the Navy and went to damage control firefighting school there in Philly, and then got assigned to a subtender out of New London, Connecticut. And every day we had fire parties, on board, and of course the ship was commissioned in 1939, so we had electrical fires pretty much every day.
So,
And,
and just to clarify, a fire party is not a campfire in the woods.
no, we had repair lockers and groups, repair 1, 2, 3, 4. I was in repair 5, which was RATCON division. And you would signify the guys by wearing red Nomex jumpsuits, were those guys, the guys that were on duty for the fire party, that were the initial response team. And it usually was a two, R1, R3, R2, R4, 5. We just kind of like held back a little bit unless it, involved nukes or whatever. So it gave me a different perspective of firefighting, and as I was getting ready to retire, well, out of the service, leave the service, we brought the City of New London on board to teach them shipboard firefighting, and then I was able to get my guys some, real fires, because again,
municipal.
we did a lot of drills,
Right.
but we were able to get some fires and stuff like that. And then while I was in the service, I stayed I bunked in at the Goshen Fire Department out in Pleasure Beach, out in Waterford, Connecticut. And again, bunch of guys, different style of firefighting, firehouse right on the beach, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I had to adapt to the Boston Red Sox, Patriots thing.
Those Sox.
Oh, I'm telling you, Jesus, it was, culture shock for me. But then when you come back here, there's the guys that, I'm sure that are down at, follow Philly style. There's
Sure.
guys that do DC style.
Right.
And
Yeah,
up
yeah.
here, everybody's, FDNY. And then you get out there, everybody's Boston style. So depending on where you are, you got that home base, that style.
Yeah.
When I got laid off from the plumbers union, I was still a volunteer the whole time, and went down to Florida. I went to Florida State Fire Academy in Ocala, and to look at that style, all the instructors were from the Northeast at that time. But here you're training for 4 or 5 months. I was in the best shape of my life. And then I get down there, and humidity just kicked my ass.
I bet. I
But
bet.
again, it's a different style. Then you can bring that style back here, and you start training with it. And we had a Victorian up in Mutual Aid to Stassburg. We were the first due rescue on the third alarm, and all they said was, "There's a woman in there, and we can't find her." And, again, senior men throughout the line, we used to have we had the officer pack, Scott 1s, and then we had the Scott 2s, and the 2A. We were always told, you go in, you pull your mask down, take a breath, because burnt hair and burnt skin is a very distinct smell. You may not see them, but you'll know they're in there. And we walked in this front door, and it was firefighter Paul Tegmeyer, firefighter Steenberg, myself, and Captain Roy Hall. We walked in, and we closed the front door, and she was like right there. And we just walked back out and said, "We found her." And they're like, "No, you didn't." "Oh, yeah, we found her." And, everybody goes back to, "Well, what'd you see?" You saw a body. And that's about all you're going to remember seeing. You couldn't go into detail.
Right.
It was there. And then the other worst one, we had a bus accident in Clinton where 3 were killed, 1 was ejected, and the bus rolled on top of this female.
Wow.
And what we did was we cribbed to one side of her, and we dug a hole to the other side. And as we raised the bus with the airbag, we slid her into the hole. And then we had already had a reeves set up inside the hole. And as we pulled the reeves out, her shirt came up over her face. So you didn't get it. And you we talk about the psyche of a firefighter, and her feet were like right next to her head. And to me, psychologically, it was a rescue Annie. Because
Yeah.
that's how but psychologically, that's
Sure.
how I dealt with it, because I didn't see a face, I didn't see any, and back then we didn't have any, CERT teams or whatever else, and the biggest thing was you went back to the firehouse and you talk around the table over a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever, and you talks amongst yourselves.
Right.
You know, and there was always a guy in the firehouse. Hey, Jeremy, how you doing? You doing all right? You
Yep.
know, Rob, you doing okay? There was that guy that always took that time just to ask, are you all right?
Right.
You know?
Hey everybody, it's Rob Ridley from National Fire Radio. Thanks for tuning in. Catch up with us on social media. We got
SoundCloud, National Fire Radio, YouTube, National Fire Radio, Instagram, National Fire Radio, and
always
Facebook, National Fire Radio. Guys, check us out. Take care. Be safe.